What if the key to healing your deepest wounds wasn't just moving on, but learning how to truly make friends with forgiveness, starting with yourself?
Mm.
Sharon LaFlame, I think I
Right.
pronounced that wrong. I may have messed that up again, has turned her own journey through childhood trauma into a path for helping others reclaim their peace, vitality, and sense of home within their own bodies.
Mm.
Welcome to Happiness on Tap, where we bring you inspiring stories and practical insights for a happier, more fulfilling life. I'm your
Mm.
host, Leann Herron, and today I am sitting down with Sharon LaFlame, the founder of Creating Serenity Now and co creator of the transformative online course, Making Friends with Forgiveness: The Art of Letting Go. Sharon's work blends her passion for human behavior, health, nutrition, yoga, Reiki, and meditation into a holistic approach to healing. As a certified somatic experiencing practitioner, she guides clients, many of whom carry scars of childhood trauma, through a process that restores nervous system regulation, dissolves trauma symptoms, and allows them to finally feel at home in their own bodies. We'll talk about what it really means to let go, how the body stores our pain, and why forgiveness is not about excusing the past, but about reclaiming our power in the present. So let's welcome Sharon to the show. Sharon, I am so excited to have you join us today.
Well, I am so excited to be here and hello to everyone. And thank you so much for the invitation, Leanne. I know we're going to have a great time. And before we get started, I just want to invite each and every one of you just to take a moment, because this is part of the practices that I work in, is to drop into your body, maybe close your eyes and just check in with what's going on inside of you. And for some people, this is not easy, especially if you've had childhood trauma. But just notice the heart rate, the breathing rate, the tension in your body. How is it feeling in your body right now? And you just need to notice. That's it. And then we get on with our day.
Thank you for starting us there. That is always a wonderful way to begin. It's a great reminder for anybody who has never done this kind of somatic practice before or listening to our own bodies before. Most of us are so on the go and taking care of everybody else that taking the time to listen to our own body is a new skill for a lot of people. I know it was for myself.
Yeah, and for many of us that have lived in childhood trauma, and that's probably most of society, we just learn to live in our heads, and that's where we think we're safe. But our body, we've been disconnected from. And so we have to practice these little bits of time. I invite my clients to put a timer on their phone every hour, just check in. Just nobody has to know you're doing it. And go, how am I doing inside here? Because your body will always tell you how you're feeling, and it will always tell you and try to keep you safe. So connecting with this marvelous body is our greatest asset.
It is. And it tells us in so many ways that we have ignored or not paid attention to. Or, I know for myself, I experienced a lot of skin rashes. I, never had a doctor that even remotely said, well, this may be stress related. They were so busy sending me to experts and then I really kind of figured it out for myself because I could tell when the flare ups were going to happen when my nervous system was way out of control. And so once I started listening, I was able to use modalities to help calm my nervous system and the reactions would calm down. So, yeah, just learning to listen to our body is so amazing and so powerful.
And if we've spent our life living in an unsafe place, especially growing up, we don't know there's another place to live. We just know this is where I'm living, and I'm hyperactive and I'm hypervigilant and I'm anxious and stressed, but I don't know that there's this place called parasympathetic where I'm relaxed and calm, and that's where my body heals, right? And stomach issues are it for many of us. It's where it starts. I for one had ulcers in first grade, and the doctors, they just treat the body. So you're on drugs and diets and tranquilizers your whole life, but my body, I'm at home in an unsafe place. My body knows that. It is telling me to put all my defenses up and never let them down, because the people that are supposed to take care of you are not, and you can't be safe in their life. So um, it's just been still my greatest passion is to find that body, which I didn't really realize till I started somatic experiencing practicing, regulates everything, including the thoughts. Because if I come into a place and I'm in a parasympathetic safe place and somebody bumps me, I'm going to go, oh, hi, no problem. But if I'm in a fight or flight already, simply activated because maybe I had a fight with somebody, or that's just the way I live because I don't know it different, they go and bump me. I could be like ready to fight them off, because that's what our body is doing when we're in anxiety. We're not safe. We're ready to fight. We're guarded. We cannot let down. We can't let go enough to feel safe and relaxed and okay. In fact, for many of people, you have them all the time, right? I can't meditate. I can't relax. I can't. That's because you trained your body, because we all do. Every experience trains it. You've never been in a relaxed place. We've trained it to be ready to fight, but we have to train it to be ready to let go, and that's safe too when it's practiced. And it's a journey, right, Leann? It doesn't come easy. It's you got to work at finding the right place for that body to settle, to let go, make the environment, orient around to your environment to make sure this is safe, it feels good, the lighting is good, the temperature is good, everything's good for me. Everything says, okay, there's no monsters. I could maybe let go. And the body's going to go, oh, no, you can't. I won't let you. I have taught you that holding on and thinking is the way we keep safe.
Yep. And I lived there. I had, a very volatile childhood growing up, very abusive. Um, and so, yeah, I didn't have any idea that it was even possible to have a safe space until only recently, with literally within the last 7 years of being in a safe and loving and stable marriage and environment, and being in my safe space and knowing that this was my safe space. When I, was going through trauma, I picked it apart, like pieces of my body, like, what is this? Why am I feeling this way? I've never felt like this before. I don't like it. I need to know what it is, what's causing it, and how can I fix it? That control side of me. But what that did was it helped me get educated. Like, it opened me up to a world of information that I knew nothing about. I had never meditated. I was one of those people. I can't shut my brain off. Are you kidding? My brain's going a million miles an hour. I've got 2,000 balls in the air. But I knew that I didn't like that anxious feeling, that out of control feeling, the hypervigilance feeling. And I wanted to learn how to calm it down. And so I
Yeah.
taught myself how to meditate watching YouTube videos and, finding somebody that I resonated with in their teaching, and listened and learned how to control my thoughts, and learned how to know that I was safe, and how to set up my space so that it was calm and peaceful and relaxing. And I could let go and trust that I was in my home, in my safe space.
Yeah.
And, and over time, it really just developed into this beautiful daily meditation practice, that is something I can call on at any moment. And it's not just, sitting on my little cushion on the floor, It's within me. It's in a walking meditation. It's while I'm doing the dishes. It's being present and in my breath. And it's just it is such. There's so many wonderful modalities.
Yeah.
And somatic work. I've only recently, within the last year, really started learning more and more about it. And that's why I always feel so honored to bring people like you on the show to not only teach me, but to teach our listeners about the modalities that are available at our fingertips now, thanks to the wonderful world of the internet.
Yeah, yeah, so true. And speaking of that, I have a YouTube channel loaded with uh, walking meditation, breathing exercises. Breathing can often be one of the fastest ways to regulate and switch and shift your nervous system. But the thing with all these resources, because that's partly why I got into yoga and teaching yoga and things, is sometimes they're really, at time, they work for the present being, right? Um, those of us that learn to use these tools, it's helpful. But if there's really underlying trauma because the nervous system's default is, I'm not safe ever, we get triggered, right? Something happens and we think we're fine and we've regulated ourselves and we're breathing good and we're feeling good in our body and we know we're okay. But then something happens and boom, we're like overreacting, boom. And that's where we go, oh, where the heck did that come from? Because that is the autonomic nervous system letting you know that one of your core wounds that never really got healed just got activated, and I'm rising up to protect you, to keep you safe. So your lion comes out because I'm not going back there. I'm not going to go back to that wound. I'm not going to get hurt. And the thing with trauma is, um, it's it doesn't have any time frame. It messes up the hippocampus. So it doesn't get in a linear line, which is why people look at you like, oh, get over it. That was yesterday. Well, guess what? It's not to the nervous system. Until it has a chance to feel it, rise up into it, and complete it, it's like it happened yesterday.
Yep. And that was exactly my case. I had spent a lifetime ignoring, pushing it down, denying that it was trauma. It was just all these horrible things that would happen in life. But I always felt like this resilience, like I can just push it down and keep on going because I had to. I
Yeah.
had children to raise. I had a job. I had, responsibilities that I forced myself to do that. And the trauma that I experienced in 2019, which is what led me to leave my career in legal and become a coach, that trauma was from 20 years prior. So you are 100%, accurate in that statement. The body hangs on to it. It's going to continue to show up until you have, like you said, felt it, done the work to process it through your body and release it.
Yeah.
But even then, that's only one trauma that I addressed. That isn't other traumas. And I recently, probably about 2 weeks ago, had a brand new trauma trigger show up.
Mm.
And I felt, right back in that, like, why aren't my modalities working? Why isn't this helping? Why am I having these issues again? And it was a lot to really just know that I needed to slow down, listen to it, invite whatever I was feeling,
Mhm.
do some journaling and really look at where this was coming from. And yeah, identifying it as, just one of those core wounds that I hadn't worked on yet.
And that's truly the gift. I've got to read this. I keep this right here. An upset is an opportunity to see the truth. And that's what I call triggers, right? Because trauma can be a one-time, really overwhelming event where the nervous system wasn't capable of holding this much energy because it was so traumatizing. And so it turns inward and holds on to it and won't let it go. But it can also be ongoing, 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 young, young children or anything that goes on too long, too much, that's overwhelming to our nervous system too. So it can happen for a lot of reasons. But the real gift is that our awareness is being brought to it, right? That trigger or that whatever is being brought to it. And when I work with clients, we build the resilience and capacity of the nervous system by practicing getting into parasympathetic, and we're building that ventral vagal nervous system, which we don't get but when we're born. This is our social engagement. This is how we learn to deal with feelings and emotions through a ventral vagal pathway. That's where energy moves through, and it builds when we live it. So a child and an infant have no capacity to calm themselves. They have to have an adult. If they don't, their little bodies learn ways of stuffing that energy. And that's some of the energy we end up finding out, oh, I had no idea that this was here. And we can't really even access it till we've built a strong enough ventral vagal nervous system to even feel it, which is why asking you to go do a resource doesn't feel right, because I don't have the neural pathway to even feel it. It just feels so wrong because I don't have access to feeling. And when we do begin to feel, it's not familiar. And anything that's not familiar is not comfortable to our nervous system. If you're not familiar, I'm not safe. Boom. So that's why it's an ongoing process to befriend your body, befriend your nervous system, start to know that it is your friend. Yeah, you feel stressed and anxious. Why are you doing this to me? Because it's telling you, we got work to do. I'm not safe. I want to be safe. I want you to be safe. Let's be safe together. And then we start that wonderful journey and practice and start to learn to love ourselves and be kind and gentle and compassionate with ourselves and and give ourselves all the things that we didn't get, which is why we got traumatized.
Yeah. And it is definitely, like you said, it's just listening to your body and befriending what it's trying to tell you. And so many of the somatic practitioners that I have met in this journey have a different way that they phrase it, but it's like, okay, when this comes knocking on your door, instead of saying, I'm not opening that door, say, okay, I'm going to open that door and I'm going to invite you in.
Mhm.
And I want to know what you're here to tell me.
Yeah.
So it's learning how to do that, learning how to lean into it and not be so afraid of it. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not easy work, inner child, young child stuff. It is brutal.
Yeah. And exactly what you experienced. Here I am working on myself, me too. And then something happens, and this overwhelming, my nervous system now is shutting down because it's like overwhelmed. And I'm not even sure where it comes from. And when I cannot resource it away, I can't breathe it away, I can't walk it away, I can't yoga it away, I can't go out in nature it away, it's still hanging on. I know that I have work to do. And that's when people reach out to me that we've worked with, because as the nervous system builds its capacity, it starts working on the deeper wounds, the real core wounds. And at the core of us, most of us are, I can't live. I have to survive with with these people. I have to survive. And it's the fear of death that is deeply ingrained and implicitly part of our cellular makeup, which is why our default nervous system is always guarded, because we're not sure we're going to survive. We're not sure we're going to live. That is at the nature of our biological nervous system. It's not a thought. You can think, but it's ingrained in our cells, and we need to process it. And I said, well, if you can't, your resources aren't working, then we've got to let it out. It's rising up saying, we've got to deal with this. We've got to feel it. And that's why it's really important to have a coach or a somatic experiencing practitioner or someone that can support your biology to feel, because it didn't have it as a child and it
Mhm.
doesn't know how to get there. And and that's partly why my partner and I created this course, because you have to build up the nervous system pathways and a relationship with yourself to even get to the place where, as you know, you work on the deeper stuff. Once you've built up this, the safety, the strength, the capacity, and a good sense of I trust myself, my body trusts me, we can do this.
Yeah. And I learned not to rush into things, don't you learn these modalities and you start working on things and you think, oh, okay, I'm ready to go a little deeper and let's,
Oh,
and I think the first time I did a meditation that was an inner child meditation, it was sitting with my 6-year-old self. All I remember was I did it alone at home and coming out of it and finding myself curled up in a ball on the floor, sobbing so heavily that I don't even remember ever sobbing like that in my lifetime. And I thought, okay, that was powerful, but I should not have done that alone. Like there are people out there to guide you, to walk beside you, to help you. And
mhm.
it was an experience, but it definitely reminded me that I had those people in my life.
Ah, and I often will say, and what we were trained as somatic experiencing practitioners is, if you've had an experience such as what you said you went through, and the next day you were like in a dorsal state, meaning I'm depressed, I'm heavy, I'm just unable to get out of my own way, or you're in a super activated or somewhere activated state, probably that was too much by yourself, because most trauma is because we went through this alone. We didn't have a co-regulating nervous system to support our nervous system to get through it. And being alone oftentimes is the scariest place. But we can do it alone, and we can do a lot of the prep work alone, um, because we have marvelous, marvelous implicit, intellectual, innate knowledge. And sometimes we have to get out of our own way and let the body do its thing.
Yep.
And that's what my gift is like the body's wisdom is everything.
So, what inspired you to create Making Friends with Forgiveness, the art of letting go?
Well, numerous things. The experiences that I've had with my clients and people all throughout my life. Um, but primarily when I started working with childhood trauma, and I understand that the nervous system is not wired. It's wired for chaos and inflexible rigidness. I'm only safe if I stay here. Now we have two hemispheres, and we're meant to grow in lots of ways, and the brain is meant to grow in lots of ways. But when we've lived in childhood trauma, our brain knows rigidity and chaos. It doesn't know all the other ways to get out. And our wiring is very small, very narrow. It's in an activated state. And because we didn't get a ventral vagal state, which gives us degrees of coming down, we have like super activated gas pedal on the floor, which most of us lived in, and it would be depressed. I can't get out of bed. There was no midway, and we have to build that midway. And because clients would struggle with doing any of the work, because it's hard work, like we talked about, it's it's not hard per se. It just goes against the way the nervous system has been experiencing, and bringing on the brain to keep it safe, and building up these walls and defenses to keep us safe. And we have to bring that all around. And people just struggle with it. And I thought, boy, if they could do it at home at their own time, and exactly what you said and learned, there is no quick fix. The faster you try to go, the more you put overwhelm on yourself, the more you put yourself back into a trauma state. We have to let go of things, and we can't let go until we build the nervous system pathway, ventral vagal, that lets us go. We have to build up the, the buildup of letting go muscles, we call it. There's 2 modules on letting go. You have to practice it. You have to do it. You start with little stuff. We have all these exercises over and over, daily exercises and daily meditations and daily things to do that work for your body, so you can start finding out what it's like to be in a safe place and be okay in your body. And so much of that work you could spend years paying a therapist for, that you could be doing at home. And then you can reach out to us when you've hit a place where you need help. But um, so much of this basic foundational work that everyone needs, they could do right at home and have such success, feel better in their body, be healthier in their body, because when we're in parasympathetic, we're now in a healing state. This is where the body's meant to live. This is when it supports us. This is when it nourishes us. This is when it detoxes. This is when we access the creativity and the inspiration, because we're so open to receive and our heart opens. And that, again, we teach that open-heartedness. That is a whole process of, do I dare open and be vulnerable and be hurt? No, like there's just so much wiring that has to be done, and thought rewiring that has to be done for us to find the state where we can all heal. Our Everything can go away when we are in parasympathetic. And so my passion is, I want this toxic culture to get healed, and we all live in a state of feeling safe and love ourselves, and we actually love our life.
Yeah, that is definitely a beautiful passion and mission, that all of us in this healing roles, that we all, that's what we strive for. And I think the more that we can share these messages, the more that we can put this information into people's hands, even if it's one person at a time that hears this message and is open to learning and open to doing the work and open to understanding it. If we change one life, then it's going to continue to grow like waves in the water, because people start to notice, people start to see that change in you.
Yeah, they feel it. I mean, we are energy, right? We are all energy, which is why I love animals so much, because they were my first safe nervous system. None of my family was, but my cats were. And dogs and cats, they know if you're a safe person. And you people out there, if your cat comes and sits in your lap, you're in a good nervous system regulated state. When they won't come anywhere near you, you ought to check in with yourself, because guess what? You're not regulated and you're not safe to be around.
And they do, they
Yeah.
feel that. You'll hear a lot of people saying, my dog or my cat won't go near that person.
Yep.
Well, maybe you should wonder why.
And in the same instance, when we start to do our wiring, we're building our capacity to know energy and feel, because our superpower is feeling, which we are taught to push away, downgrade, think only. And so when we start to learn to feel, we recognize, so Sharon, why should I do this work? Well, because when you start to build your capacity to feel, and you start being able to feel energy, you will know automatically, because energy doesn't lie, people manipulate, but energy doesn't lie. And if you feel their energy, you know if they're a safe person that I can let into my world, or I need to stay away. And you will know that, and you don't have to have anybody tell you any different, because your body will let you know.
And it's not woo woo, it is the true being in which we are. We are energy.
Yep.
And so many people just, write it off, discount it, don't trust it. Um, and if you
Yeah.
learn to listen to it, learn to feel it, yeah, you really can. I can walk into a coffee house or a store, and you can feel people's energies, and
I
you'll
used to,
know.
yeah. I've always known, and I disagree with psychology, psychiatry, all of that, because they will all teach you you feel that way because you have a thought in your head. And I've always known instinctually that no, I feel that like someone walked through the door and my gut will start to twist and I'll start to put up fences and I can feel their anger. And then I start having the thoughts because my body has 80% nerve ways, passageways from all of my gut and organs to come up and tell my brain, how are we feeling right now? And then my brain says, oh, we're not safe. I don't like that person. And I read decades ago, The Gift of Fear. I've forgotten the author, but he says he's would always do like rape. He was a detective, I think, would rape people. He says every one of them knew this guy gave me the creeps. I didn't, but he would talk his way in, and they ultimately died or got hurt or raped because they didn't listen to their gut. Because we're trained not to listen to our gut, and we haven't built up the right neuroceptive pathways to be able to trust ourselves and to be able to really feel it. And that's why I love this because you start to get that safety. It's here. It's not out there. It's here inside of yourself, and you can access it anytime you want once you've built it.
Let's talk about the main word in, that making friends with forgiveness. Because I know for myself, that was a difficult word. And it goes back to, my beliefs that were handed down through religion, through family, through whatever. And that really controlled my belief about forgiveness and my ability to practice forgiveness. And so if you could talk to forgiveness, I would appreciate that.
So it's a it's a word, but it's really a process. It's really a an energetic release, an energetic letting go that brings up vulnerability. And we're kind of, again, taught by design in this world by religions and homes and schools and politics and everything that we have to have division, right? So we create these victim mentality or perpetrator mentality or protector mentality. And it's important in these systems for us to pop into one of these systems. And as long as we feel a victim, we feel we have to protect ourselves. And then it's them against me. And then we build up these ideas that I'm never safe. And that again is by design, in my opinion. So we easily build up resentment, anger, and of course, as a female, we're not allowed to show anger, which is one of my favorite and emotions, because it's always going to tell you if you're being treated with respect. But and so we have all these feelings that we suppress or get repressed, and both of those are difficult on a nervous system. They will dysregulate it. So we don't even know sometimes that we're angry or resentful at somebody or we're holding a grudge because it's not nice to hold a grudge, right? Because that's not what we're supposed to do. So we don't show it because at 2 years old, I can't be authentic with my real feelings. I'm supposed to forgive my brother. Well, I don't like him, but I got to show that I do because mommy tells me I have to. And to survive, I have to have mommy. So I will give up what I really want. So it starts real early that forgiveness means I have to give up something. And that's not really the way I think forgiveness is meant to be. Forgiveness is meant to be for most of us is a way to let go of that negative energy that we've harbored and give ourselves the gift of inner peace and serenity. Because when we harbor a bad feeling, a resentment, a grudge, and we hold something over somebody, we can't have a good relationship with them or ourselves because of that energy. And we also have to be able to build up enough ventral vagal to let go of that because holding on to it feels safe. And even though it's hurting our health, it's hurting our relationships, it's hurting us primarily, it's kind of vulnerable to forgive, to let go of that energy. So we practice it both on physical and emotional practices in our course where we say, oh, okay. And I recommend practicing on like your dog that you love so much and they maybe did something you didn't like, but you don't hold it against them. You can practice what it feels like to energetically let them go, to physically say, I'm going to let this go and I'm going to come back to loving you because you're safe. And so we can forgive everyone, and that's important for our health so our nervous system doesn't feel ramped up. But that doesn't mean we let them back into our life, too. We have a whole module on who do we want to forgive and why, and who do we want in our life, and what does a healthy relationship look like with myself as well as somebody else. Because as long as I love myself, I'm not going to let somebody in that's not going to be respectful of me. And so we learn that living in that inner peace, forgiving somebody, meaning I let it go. I'm not angry at them anymore. I'm not going to hold this against them anymore. And I'm not going to let them take away my peace. And I'm not going to let myself not go to some place they might be just because they're there. When we energetically know that, this person doesn't affect me one way or another, we've let that go. We've forgiven it. And that again is a process that we learn how to do that. But that's also what brings us into our greatest resources because when we love ourselves, we also easily forgive ourselves. And how many of us are taught to do that, right? How many of us are like, oh, it's okay to forgive myself? Absolutely is. It's essential.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for covering that. And thank you for teaching that. Because again, we've spent a lifetime dealing with it based on previous beliefs, previous thoughts, previous, part of our identity, part of what we inherited, and all those things. And, I even had family members who would come at me like, oh, you just need to forgive. You just need to, move on and let this go. But the letting go that they were wanting me to do wasn't me letting go of what was hurting me so that I could live in a happier, healthier existence. It was letting go of the hurt, the trauma, everything that had happened to me, and still allow that person in my life. And like you said, being able to have your own autonomy and the ability to let go and choose who you welcome into your space is
Yeah.
such a powerful skill.
And we aren't taught that, Leanne, which is
Mm-mm.
why this course is like a miracle for in magic for people because it is step by step little practices that you do, the ones that resonate with you, you continue on, you continue to build, and we actually teach you how to let go, to forgive, to open your heart, to be a new person and a healthier, vibrant, happy person, which is what everyone should be, in my opinion.
And I didn't have, when I was going through the trauma, I didn't know that things like this were available, that there was somebody to help guide me, or there were tools that I could learn or classes that I could take. What I was open to um, was hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
And because I had already developed that meditation practice, because I was already starting to do the healing and being open to receiving and wanted to let go, that was like something so deep inside me that was like, you need to know how to do this. You need to learn how to let go so that you can heal and you can move on and you can stop being triggered every time you hear their name. Like you said, that I don't want to go to certain places because they might be there. Living in in any town, here in my little Albuquerque, New Mexico, we always laugh that it is a very small town. Everybody knows everybody. You will run into somebody multiple times, whether you want to or not. But
Yeah.
once I let it go, once I was able to do that, to practice self forgiveness, to heal myself, to open my heart, I have never run into those people. And I could
Oh, interesting.
literally, this my biggest trauma is my mother, but literally she lives less than 2 blocks away from me. So you would think we'd run into each other at the grocery store, what? No,
Wow.
in
Wow.
28 years, I have never run into her once. And it wasn't from avoidance.
Yep. Isn't that interesting? Well, the universe wants us to love ourselves. The universe wants us to be safe and happy, like a heaven on earth. But patriarchy created this. And when we decide we're not living in this, we're going to find our peace. We're going to find a place that's for us. Things start shifting for us. And you made me think of something. Like for me, growing up, both of my parents were alcoholics. So there'd be massive fights, massive places where you were never safe and you didn't know how things were going to react. But then the next morning, they acted like, oh, like nothing. No, nothing was ever resolved. Nothing was ever talked about. There was no forgiveness. You're supposed to do what with it? Which is why this course is here, because I didn't know what to do with it. I was a sick person living in hyper anxiety because I had all this stuff going on and I had no place to put it. And nobody showed me what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. And I know I'm not the only person who has lived in a similar way like that.
Absolutely. And so it's having the courage to open up. I always called mine, Pandora's box,
Mm,
and to do the work. But what's on the other side of what you have lived your whole life is so amazing. It's like
yeah.
the universe, being able to look up into the stars and the galaxies and seeing things for the first time because you have
Mm.
lived in darkness for so long.
I call it liberating. We call it personal freedom. And
Yep.
we also use the word liberating, and it is. And it is just like what I talk about on my YouTube channel about attachment disorders. If you grew up in a secure attachment and all your needs were met, so hey, how many of us can say that? We were held when we needed to and we were crying. We were heard when we cried, or if we had a need, we could actually speak. We were supported to challenge ourselves and stuff, but we could do it. We didn't need someone to do it for us, but we were supported and held, and we were seen for who we really were and what we were going through. And we were understood for what we were going through, and we were loved unconditionally for what we were going through. This person goes out in the world and goes, I am safe. The world loves me. I am a powerful human being. That's what I want to see out there right now. But most of us didn't get enough of this. We only need about 85% of it. If a caregiver can show up 85%, you got secure. But most of us are like, nobody cares about me. No one's going to show up for me. Nobody cares. The world's unsafe. Holy crap, am I scared out of my mind? And that's my nervous system. That's how I see the world. And when we change the way we see it, because I shifted our nervous system and our perspective has shifted, life life changes drastically. It's a transformation.
And I've been very blessed with a partner that had that love, that home life that, and he's been so supportive and understanding and curious and, wants to learn and understand what I went through,
Oh,
to support me through my healing. But what he has been is like my biggest supporter in all the things that I didn't receive. And we have known each other since early childhood, actually grew up on the same block. Didn't really start to be friends until middle school because I had went to Catholic school for elementary. And then for middle school, I was finally put into public middle school. So I started having, friends that were in the neighborhood. Um, and so, over time, we had this, friendship, acquaintance type relationship. And then I was married for 20 years. And after my divorce, we met back up at a wedding for a mutual friend of ours that we had went to middle school and high school together with. And all it took, the thing that changed my life from the moment I saw him, was the hug he gave me when I walked up to him. That hug was something I had never felt before in my life. And in that moment, I had never felt more safe, more protected, more cherished. And it was just a hello hug. Like we haven't seen each other in years. But that was it. I knew at that moment that I had found who my heart had been looking for.
That is such a wonderful story. I have goosebumps and congratulations to you because you are now at a place where you could receive that hug. You could receive that energy and love and accept it because you knew he was a safe person to receive it from. Because how many of you out there have anyone you can trust your life with? Usually there's one or two of them. But most of us, yeah, my husband now has been he's helped me move through my attachment wounds. He's been my safe person. Before I got on the call, I need a hug. Okay, 5 hugs a day, people. If you don't have someone to give them to you, get them from your animal or yourself. Let yourself melt into it and say, I'm an okay, lovely one person, and I love myself. And hold yourself in that reverence because you all deserve it, and we all deserve to have somebody like you have. Yay.
Yeah, I am very blessed in that every day. And the constant reminders that I am safe, that I am loved, that I am cherished, that I am wanted.
That we should have gotten when we were little.
Mhm. And never did,
Yeah, and
uh,
those wounds, like, man, you got to move through them, and yeah, it's a marvelous, wonderful journey.
so for people who are still learning, who are still coming into things like somatic experiencing, can you talk to somatic experiencing and help people understand how it helps resolve trauma in the body?
So somatic experiencing is really a term Peter Levine created, and soma is your body's ability to feel. So he was doing therapy with people and he realized that you can talk to people, but when we talk with people, um, the head isn't the all everything, and oftentimes we re-traumatize ourselves. And each one of you can know that I can have a thought, I can have a memory of something I didn't like, and your body could start to sweat and fidget and do all the things that say I'm not safe, I'm not happy. There's all kinds of physiological responses when we're not safe. Do we have time to go over some of them?
Please. Yes,
Okay.
please.
So your body shows up with activation, sympathetic activation, when it's telling you it's not safe. So what some of the things that happen, your blood pressure rises, your heart rate rises. We're preparing the body to fight or flight. Um, so that puts out a lot of insulin and also shuts your belly down because it's not time to eat and nourish. It's time to fight and run, one of the two, or freeze. Um, the endocrine system throwing out cortisol, adrenaline, and vasopressin. These are the go juices. These aren't the let's relax and have fun juice. The body steadily gets depleted or tight and tense because it's so ready to fight all the time. So often reproductive stuff gets shut down. Mine was because it's not time to have a baby. It's time to fight. Um, the eyes narrow. So your ability to have peripheral vision when we're what we would have if we were relaxed is not, because we have to look for the predator. We have our ears switch its ability to hear because we want to hear the predator. We start listening for the predator and the other sounds go away, which is why kids in school that aren't safe, their belly says, Mommy, I don't want to go to school. My belly hurts. Yeah, you don't have just butterflies. You probably got even more because you're not safe at the school. Nobody's listening to you. The kids probably aren't nice. Your body is ready to fight and it's not ready to listen and learn. It has to be relaxed for that, to let it in. And so, because of all this stuff that happens, and we learn to live in this state day after day because nobody teaches us any different, that there's another place to live. Home probably isn't safe, school probably isn't safe. We've never really felt that 2-year-old slumped over mommy, totally let go, totally safe, has nothing to worry about in the world. That's where we need to be in parasympathetic. And so somatic is about getting that body to feel how much activation is going on, to build the pathway that it doesn't always have to be activated, and to be able to feel the safety of relaxation. So we build all that, but in the somatic, we get together, but we don't talk necessarily because you could just bring up a scary thought and get activated. We invite the body to get it in a little relaxation, little ventral, little relax, openness, receiving. And the body intuitively knows what needs to be healed. Every kid knows this. They cry if they're hurt. They body knows how to heal. You get a cut, it knows how to heal. So when the body feels safe enough, things show up, wounds, crying, grief, those stuff come up to heal. And the way it heals is every emotion is a wave. And the wave comes up, up, up. We feel it, it crests, and then it comes down and it's completed. And it's no longer part of your viscera. That's how you know if you have trauma because, oh, something showed up. And we often will resist it. But if you completed that, just like when I fell off my bike and I hurt like crazy and my knee was all scun up, but I cried, 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 walked myself home, and I can talk about it. There's no visceral reaction because it's not in my body any longer. It completed and it's gone. So our goal is to connect with the body, build the ventral vagal, connect you to you, and so that we can process that deep wounded energy that's in your fascia, in your body, and in your bones, and in every cell in your system, so that it can feel safe enough to come up. Because we build our personas because we're not safe. We don't cry in public because we know it's not safe, right? We cry and we work on these when we are totally safe and with somebody that we can be our true authentic self with, which is why our work, we really need to build a relationship, because if I'm not a safe person, you're not going to deal with the stuff. And people go like, oh, sorry, I'm crying. What? I've been waiting for this. I've waited 6 months for this. Thank you.
Yeah, because from your perspective, you are now seeing that they have developed that capacity, that container, and that they feel safe with you to express those emotions.
And they've also built up the confidence and trust in their own body because we've worked with that to know I'm not going to fall apart if I cry and nothing bad's going to happen or whatever happens. And then this person's going to support me and I feel better in her space than I do all alone. And so there's this trust and this confidence and this experiential stuff that happens that builds that container where that nervous system feels safe enough to be who it really is, not who it thinks it has to be. Because we have to get at those young emotions. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty to be sobbing and crying and scared out of your tree and wobbling and everything. But it's oftentimes necessary if we want to get there. And that again, we have to do the onion, right? We have to do the little things and we do the everyday little pains and we work on feeling every little, I have a whole thing, if you're interested, capacity building on my YouTube channel, ways you can build your ventrovagal nervous system, everyday stuff, and start practicing so that you can build up what you need in your nervous system.
That is great. That is something that I think I want to get lost in your YouTube channel and see all the wonderful things that you have out there that are available for people, like you said, to learn at their own time, in their own space, in their own home, or in wherever their safe space is.
Yeah,
And
and I recommend creating one. You know, tell your family, I'm going to try this new thing. Put a sign on the door because we can't be disturbed either. We don't have to worry about someone walking into our space. We have to know we're safe. We've built up a place, and we keep people away from us in the earliest times when we're starting to build this sense of safety. We have to keep away from unsafe people, people that trigger us, or even places that we know we don't want to be in. We have to be we have to treat ourselves like kid gloves with the gentleness and the compassion of, I'm going to take care of you. Let me show you that I can. And we do our best to find the safe place, create the safe place, and from there we can do it outside. But first we have to find it inside.
it's funny that you mentioned that. When I was developing my meditation practice, I would always let my husband know, like, okay, I'm going to go do my meditation now. And I'm going to shut the door so that I can, just be in my space. And so
Yeah.
he knows, like, if he comes home and I'm recording a podcast episode or whatever the case may be, if my door is closed, there's a reason it's closed. And it's that I have put myself in a space that is just for me to feel, to do, to connect, whatever that is. And that once that door is open, then it's our space for us to connect. But just having somebody that respects that, because I certainly didn't have that as a child. I didn't have privacy as a child. That was one of the things that I experienced from having toxic parents who cheated on each other. So there was no trust in the home.
Mm.
They were so busy accusing the other of exactly what they were doing, that there was so little trust. And that lack of trust really flowed downhill onto me and my brother. So neither of us had privacy. We weren't allowed to have our doors closed. And it was actually so extreme that my mother would search me before leaving for school in the morning because she was so afraid that I had written something down in a note to a friend and
Oh.
that I was going to take that out of the home into the world where somebody else may find out what was happening in the house. And so it was a daily thing. And I
Mhm.
would come home from school and it was like, prisoners in a jail cell, when they come in and they throw the whole room and they flip the mattresses, I would come home to that. My drawers would be emptied out, my bed would be torn apart. But I also remember witnessing my parents do it to each other.
Yeah. And that stems from childhood when some of the attachment wounds, like when you're a little baby and you're calling out, I'm hungry, or my diaper needs to be whatever, because we can't get and do it ourselves. We have to have a caregiver do it, right? So we cry because that's how we're getting activated. We're uncomfortable. We cry. I need help. If someone shows up time and time again, I cry, they show up. I start to build ability to trust. I cry, they show up. I starting to trust them. And then the next step is I can start to even love them. That would be the next step. If if the trust is built from repetitive good experiences, I can build my trust and then I can love. And that's how it works. Um, and wow, and usually and so from that one thing, we have a couple options that will often happen. For me, it was, you don't show up, I don't need you. I don't need anybody. I got this whole world. I can be a perfectionist and I can run everything. I don't need you. Heck with you, right? Or there's the opposite. There, don't leave me. I desperately need you. I'm clinging. Do not leave me. I need you so badly.
Yeah. And it's recognizing those things. And when we're doing those things.
Yeah. And we can see it in our relationships, even if you, I have a whole thing on attachment wounds on my YouTube channel. And when you know, because the first module is about awareness and intention. When you start to know, you're aware of my behavior and why, I can intentionally create an idea of what I want to be different and how I want to see myself really be. Um, and, awareness is key to recognizing that I don't like the way I'm parenting. I don't like the way I feel. My health is really bad. What's going on? I want things to be different. And that is one of the biggest motivators, I think, for people to step into, let's do something new. Let's make friends with forgiveness because I don't like where I'm at right now.
Yep. That was absolute. I think that was that was my like core driver
Yeah.
through my trauma was I don't like where I am right now. I don't like the way this feels. I don't like the way, any of it. And then I remember thinking at one point, like, well, if some of these things, some of these trauma responses are my new normal because they had been around for so long, then what can I do differently? Because I don't like this new normal. I don't want to live here. And I knew that I had the courage and the capacity and the ability to find other ways, to find other paths. So when my trauma was real intense, I had really bad brain fog, really severe memory loss. Like I had went out in public and couldn't remember people I had worked with for 10 years, 15 years, couldn't remember their names, couldn't remember anything about them. I could recognize their face, but that was the extent of it. And then came the shame with feeling that way and knowing I knew this person, but I couldn't even introduce them to my husband because I was this like crazy blank slate, being hypervigilant, afraid to leave my house, afraid to go to a gas station or sit in a car while my husband was in a gas station because I was hypervigilant about something was going to happen, something was going to go wrong, and just I thought, God, this is awful. Like I don't
Prison.
I don't like this, but I had probably 9 months of working through all of those things that I started to go like, okay, well, if this is how it's just gonna be, like
Oh,
what can I do differently? And that's where I really threw myself even deeper into education. Like, okay, what causes brain fog? Like I wanted the root. Like I wanted to know where this came from. Like, I've never
yeah, I
had
love
this
that.
before. What is this?
Oh, I love that because that's exactly where I went with my health too. It was like everything that I would do, every modality or whatever I was doing would always make me feel better. But there was still at the root, I could easily get triggered. There was something not settled, not safe. But I didn't know what it was until I met Somatic Experiencing and started working with a practitioner. But it was like, well, this is the root cause, the fact that my nervous system never feels safe. I never feel okay in my body, safe enough to let down, let go, and just be. And that is the root cause of I think toxic culture.
It is. It really is. And when we can take control of finding out that information, because Western medicine isn't going to give us those answers. They don't even want to know because it impacts their checkbook.
Yep.
Um, so there is change that is happening with more holistic medicine practitioners that are moving their way through Western medicine. And it comes to those people who have started to do the work themselves. They certainly didn't learn it
Yep.
in medical school,
Yep.
but those are the people who are now leaving
Yep.
traditional Western medicine practices, and they're going out and they're opening more holistic practices for people because they have been pigeonholed into you can only refer or prescribe.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you can lose your license. And
Mhm.
that brings me to something I didn't bring up, but my partner, she is a loving, beautiful coach, and she does the energy meditations and showers and energy in our course because we not only build your foundational basic nervous system you didn't get, but we build it all the way through into the new alternative, uh, I think, higher energetic being, because we are in a different vibration when we live in this state. And so, yeah, we we promote health and wellness throughout, and she does a wonderful job with the light energy. So, um, we're always able to grow and be. But I find the same thing with you. I left Western medicine a long time ago. It didn't serve me, um, and we have a healing state right here. It if we listen and do our work.
I have another woman coming up on the show that was a dermatologist.
Oh,
And, she was seeing all these skin disorders and, knowing for herself and her own experience what was causing a lot of these skin disorders, and wanting to, move what she was learning into that Western medicine realm. And, absolutely, nope, you can't do that. You can, nope. And so, yeah, same thing. She left traditional Western medicine as a dermatologist. And now what she's doing is she is bringing that information to places that are open to learning more about it. Uh,
good.
and so that is, to me, is just the more that we can do, the more that we can do with one person at a time or for the greater good, having these summits, being able to go out and educate, and teach, rooms full of people, and even teach those practitioners that there is more to the body than what they ever learned in a book
Yeah.
or in a 1 month class, um, that we can start making those global changes. And
Yeah.
like you said, and just remembering that it's within us.
Yep, it is. And that's the beauty of going within, or even going to a yoga class if it's not if they do practice some of the eight limbs of yoga. Like I would do chakra classes and meditations in my classes and invite in a different understanding of our body because it isn't just a mechanical thing. And when we create that relationship with it and build that relationship with it, it becomes an extension of us. Like any martial artist that you see, um, their instrument is an extension of who they are. A musician, it's an extension of who they are because they are so in tune, so in touch with themselves and the way their body works with it. Because our bodies create music and they want to be in harmony, they want to be in synergy, and they want to be a symphony of peace. That's what they want. This is what our body desires to be in, and we can achieve it. And in that state, we're like the healthiest we can be.
Absolutely. So, where can people find you? I want to make sure to include everything in the show notes, everywhere that people can reach out to you to learn more about you. Thank you so much for sharing all of the wonderful things that you have in your YouTube channel, because that is going to really help a lot of people.
Yeah, and they're real short, brief stuff. You're not going to sit there and listen to me for an hour. 5 minutes is about the tops of most of my stuff. Um, so my YouTube channel, which you have the link, it's Sharon LaFlamme, and I have my creatingserenitynow.com website for my somatic work, and then I have makingfriendswithforgiveness.com, our online course. You find me, I love to educate and teach people about their autonomic nervous system and their power. I love helping people empower themselves to be their best. So Facebook is where I do my most work because I do a lot of educational stuff. I'm also on X as at Sharon LaFlamme, but I've given up any of the other social media because what I have found, people, is this society wants me to be running ragged and not happy and peaceful. And if I don't show up in my most grounded, peaceful state to be a co-regulator, I'm no good to anybody. And I'm not going to shift and change the world. So I've taken a lot of stuff off my plate and I've asked the universe, hey, if someone needs me, bring them to me because I'm going to attract the people that need me the most. But those are the places that I put out the most material that they could find me.
And you're also on
Oh,
Medium
Insight,
as well as a publisher?
Insight Timer.
Okay.
Some of my meditations are on Insight Timer. And there's a wonderful somatic um, guided meditation on that platform. So if you've never really known what it's like to feel good in your body and relax a little, I often will do this with a client on a discovery session so that they know there's a different place to be in my body that's relaxed and it doesn't have to feel the way it does most of the time.
That sounds wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I will make sure and include all of that in the show notes so that people know where to find you, where to connect with you, where they can learn at their own pace, at their own time, in their own safe space. And when they're ready to do the work, where they can find you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So, thank you for reminding us that forgiveness isn't a one time act, it's a journey of returning home to ourselves, untangling the knots in our bodies and that our hearts have held on to for years. By approaching healing with curiosity and compassion and the willingness to listen to our inner wisdom, we can truly transform our pain into peace. So, thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention and awareness. Make sure that you connect with Sharon. You can explore her work, including Making Friends with Forgiveness on her website. If this conversation spoke to you, please subscribe to Happiness on Tap. Share this episode with friends. And remember that happiness isn't something you chase, it's something you create moment by moment. So thank you again, Sharon. I appreciate your time, your knowledge, your experience, and all the work that you do to make this information so accessible to people.
And it has been a true honor and pleasure to spend this time with you and your audience. And don't forget to love yourself.
Thank you so much.